My name's Sabrina Ramonov, and in this video, I'm going to walk through creating my very own AI chatbot trained on my blog and newsletter data using the platform VoiceFlow. And what it's going to do is reply to users' questions, grab data from the knowledge base, and also return links to my content to encourage followers to explore more of my content. So I'm going to walk through setting up the chatbot in VoiceFlow, creating the interactive loop, adding data to your knowledge base, calling the knowledge base to retrieve relevant answers, and then also returning a link to your social media content with each answer. Before we dive into building it, here's the chatbot in action. So I'm running a test right now in VoiceFlow. I'm going to click Ask a Question. Okay, so here it's in this part of the workflow, and then you can ask any question. So I might say, what are AI agents? Okay, and now what it's doing is sending a post request to the knowledge base through VoiceFlow's API. And you can see here the API call successfully triggered. I'm on the free plan, so it's using GPT 3.5 Turbo. Obviously, this answer would be better if you're using 4.0 or 4.0 Mini. But here you can see the response, AI agents, blah, blah, blah. And then this content might help you. This is actually a link to my blog post, Introduction to AI Agents. And I think this is really neat for content creators who want an AI chatbot trained on their content. And the response actually encourages your followers to explore more of your content, especially on different channels. Maybe they found it through TikTok or Instagram. Then the chatbot can recommend content from your newsletter, from your LinkedIn, or from your YouTube. So let's talk about how I've actually built this. Obviously, go to voiceflow.com and sign up for a plan. Here's the pricing real quick. I'm currently just using the Sandbox free plan, single editor, one workspace. It's limited to 50 knowledge base sources, which kind of sucks, but it's definitely enough to see if you like VoiceFlow compared to some other chatbot builder platforms. Once you've signed up, you'll be taken to the workflows page. Go ahead and start a new workflow and then click edit workflow. Okay, and what you'll see is basically this node-based editor GUI. So starting on the left here, this is where the interaction begins. So these are the kind of building blocks to build out your chatbot. These are your AI building blocks, your talking building blocks, listening, meaning capturing information from the user, logic and conditionals and branching, developer-oriented one, making an API call, and then a library with examples and documentation. And so what we're going to start with is just a bunch of messages. So go to talk and then drag this card over here like this, like a message. And then you just type, the first thing you want your agent to say. In my case, I just had it say, hello. And then the next message is, welcome to Sabrina's AI bot. I am Sabrina's personal super smart AI assistant powered by her brain. And you can edit it here. You can also generate variants here. And then this is just another message. So again, just drag this into another message. And this is just another message. And then this over here is actually a button. So the user can either ask a question, or if they click connect on LinkedIn, it's going to open up my LinkedIn URL. So to create this, go to listen and then buttons and then drag it onto the board. So I already have it, so I'm not going to drag it, but let me open it. So once you drag it, you'll see an interface like this. You put what the options are, buttons that the user can interact with. So they can click ask a question, or they can click connect on LinkedIn. So for ask a question, we're just going to label it ask a question. And then what we're going to do is drag this arrow over to our next box, which we haven't created yet, but so we're going to do that later. Then the second option will be connect on LinkedIn. And again, for social media creators, like you might want to redirect people to your newsletter platform where you can own the audience a little bit better. You could have several buttons here. For example, you can click add a button to direct them to your TikTok or YouTube. I'm going to delete this button. So for connect on LinkedIn, make this open a URL. You just click actions, and then there's going to be an option open URL. It's just I've already selected it, but if I deselect it here, okay, and then there's open URL. And click back. Okay, and everything auto saves, so you don't have to click save, and you can visually see what the logic is. So here, if they connect LinkedIn, it's going to take them to this URL. Now, ask a question is going to capture the question they ask, so we need to build this out. Okay, so this is actually another message. Okay, so you just drag another message here like this. And then the message I say is ask any question, and we'll search Sabrina Ramonov's brain for the best answer. And then what our bot is going to do is wait for the user reply. So this is a node called capture. So here, go to listen again, and then capture. So you'll drag that on the board like this. And you can see capture user reply, entire user reply, and it stores it in this variable last utterance. Okay, I'm going to delete this one that I just made and open the one I previously have. The next thing we're going to do is called the knowledge base API. So KB here stands for knowledge base. So this is the post request you want to make, and make sure you drag the arrows to connect the nodes, right? So from ask a question, you want to drag this arrow over to capture question. And then from capture question, you want to drag this arrow over to capture user reply. And then to call the API, we're going to put an API node. So go to dev for developer, API, drag it onto your board like this, right? And then we're going to fill out the parameters. Make sure to drag the connection. So after the capturing the user reply, then we call the knowledge base API like that. Okay, so let's go ahead and open this node so you can recreate it. Set it to post request. This is the URL. Paste this into your configuration. For headers, you want to add your authorization header, which you will be able to find in your VoiceFlow API account. And these are additional headers. So accept application/JSON, content type application/JSON, data is this end of file. And this is @_ left bracket EOF, okay? No parameters, and then we want to do this raw request for the body. I just copy pasted this from the VoiceFlow API documentation. And then what we want to do is capture the response. So we're sending a post request to the knowledge base, and then we want to capture the response so we can give it to AI to formulate an answer based on what the knowledge base returned. So to capture a response, what we're going to do is save pieces of the response to variables. So we can do response.chunks0.content. We're going to save it to this variable called answer. And then response.chunks1.content, we're going to save it to this variable answer2. And then we also want to save the source URL. And this is how we are going to return direct links to our content for followers who are interacting with our chatbot so that they can explore those direct links or dive deeper into more of your content. So do response.chunks.0.source.url and then URL. And if you wanted to save the URL for the second article that was returned from the knowledge base, you would just like duplicate this, and then instead of 0, change it to 1. You could call the new variable URL2, basically following like this format over here. And real quick, recommend checking out the VoiceFlow documentation. So go to docs.voiceflow.com. And the endpoint we are using is the query API endpoint. As you can see here, it allows you to query your knowledge base and retrieve answers to user questions. So this is the post request URL. It's the same thing we copy pasted over here. And you can see an example curl request over here. What you want to do is copy this body of the curl request here. So copy this from curly brace to curly brace. Okay. Paste it over here. You're going to add one more parameter, which is question last utterance. And so what this is doing is taking the user's last message to your chatbot and feeding it so that it knows what to search. Here you can see in the sample requests, like over here, the question is, what are the benefits of AI? Or suggest a woodwork project idea. What it's going to do is take that question and retrieve answers most relevant to that question from your knowledge base. And the last thing I want to mention is here's the documentation to grab your API key. So basically within the VoiceFlow interface, you want to just go to the integrations tab. If we exit out of this, there is integrations tab over here. Copy your API key and then bring it over to your workflow over here where it says authorization. You want to paste your API key there. Okay, so that's the meat of what's going on, and I'll do one last step and then we'll fill out the knowledge base. So after we call the knowledge base and retrieve the best answers from the knowledge base, what we want to do is create the answer. So over here, go to AI and drag set AI onto the workspace. Okay. I'm going to just close this and open the one I already have. I'm going to label it create answer. The data source is an AI model, so we're going to call ChatGPT to formulate a response to the user's question using the information from the knowledge base. Now, if you choose knowledge base here, then it's just going to query the knowledge base directly. But I find the answers are much better when you take information from the knowledge base and tell ChatGPT to use the information if it's relevant. If it's not relevant, then like don't use the information, right? So here's the prompt for the AI model. Your task is to answer the user's question clearly. I just capitalize these, and then they respond to these XML tags over here. First, review the answers from the knowledge base, and if they are relevant, use them in your answer. If they are not relevant, do not use them in your answer. Here are the inputs we're feeding in: the question, which is last utterance, the first answer, which is answer, and then the second answer, which is answer 2. And then we're applying this to output, meaning the output of the prompt will be stored in this variable called output. And here are the prompt settings. I'm just using GPT 3.5 for testing purposes. Again, I'm on the free plan, so I can't actually use any of these other advanced models. Now, once we have that, what we're going to do is add another message. So go to talk, and then drag your message box over here like this. And then let me delete this. And the message will just contain the variable output, meaning the answer that ChatGPT formulated is going to be sent back to the user as a message. And then this is a follow-up message. So drag another message card down here. And then I say, this content might help you, the URL to the top relevant link from the knowledge base. And let's make sure you connect everything. So if the post request to the knowledge base succeeds, that's when you would create an answer. So that's this line over here. And you want to loop everything together, right? So after the user asks one question and gets an answer, they might want to ask a follow-up question and get another answer. So to do that, that's this line over here. Drag it from the last message over to capture user reply. The chatbot, after answering, is listening for the user to say something else. Whatever the user says next is stored in this last utterance variable, and the loop continues. Okay, so I ask a follow-up question, calls the knowledge base again. If the call to the knowledge base succeeds, ChatGPT creates an answer utilizing information from the knowledge base and returning the top relevant link from the knowledge base. And then again, our AI chatbot listens for what the user asks next, and that's the loop. It looks pretty simple, but it's really cool how it loops, how it calls the knowledge base, and it feels really seamless from a user experience perspective. Okay, and then the last step is actually filling out your knowledge base. So click back over here, and then click knowledge. Okay, I'm gonna sort this by dates. Okay, and so I actually imported a bunch of my newsletter posts from my newsletter, sabrina.dev. And a super easy way to do that is to just input the sitemap of your URL. If you're using like a well-known blogging platform, in my case, Beehive or WordPress or ConvertKit or whatever it is, usually there is a sitemap for your site. So in my case, it's sabrina.dev/sitemap.xml. All you have to do is enter your sitemap here. If you're on the pro plan, you can also select how often to refresh it. So it could fetch new posts from your blog daily or weekly or monthly. You can add additional data sources as well. So URLs, you can upload a file, PDF, text, docx, plain text, or Zendesk. So for example, let's say you have a lot of TikTok videos like I do. I actually have a script to download a bunch of TikTok video URLs. And then with a workflow automation, you can get each video transcribed, put it together in a PDF or docx, and then upload it here so that you have all your video content transcription available here in your knowledge base. Okay, so now let's go back to the workflow, and that's pretty much it. So let's test it again by clicking run over here. Okay, start a test to interact with your agent using text, voice, or buttons. You just click run test. And you can see the flow happening in action, right? Like it's actually highlighting it. The first message was hello. The second message was welcome to the AI bot, blah, blah, blah. Third message, ask me anything or click a button below. And then here are the two buttons, right? Ask a question or connect on LinkedIn. If I click connect on LinkedIn, then it opens the link to my LinkedIn. And there's no path after that. And what we can do here is after opening that link, we can link it back over here. It's kind of confusing, the lines, but it's actually going back to the welcome screen. Okay, so then let's click run again, run test. So hello, welcome. So you can see it highlighting, connect on LinkedIn, opens the link. Okay, and in the future, we might just want to link it back to like ask me anything or click a button below, but let's go ahead and ask a question. Let's ask for anything. How did you grow so fast on TikTok? So I do have a TikTok playbook in my newsletter that's pretty popular resource. Here's the API call to the knowledge base. I'm just going to scroll up a bit so you can see the logs here. So the model's 3.5 turbo. Again, I'm on the free plan. You can see the token consumption, API call successfully triggered. And then this is the answer formulated by ChatGPT using information from the knowledge base. So to grow quickly on TikTok, there are several strategies you can try, blah, blah, blah. And that's pretty accurate in terms of like what my playbook has. And then this is the actual link to my playbook. And so I love that because for content creators, you want your audience to explore and dive deeper into your other content and help them discover all of the amazing content you've already produced that they probably haven't seen. So this is a really great way to encourage that kind of exploration and also establish your credibility and authority more by surfacing long form posts like these newsletters, for example. And now let's check that the loop works. So let's say, okay, that's a great answer. I have another question. What are some free AI courses you recommend? Click enter to send. And then the chatbot is again calling the knowledge base API. Here are the logs. And here's the answer. I recommend checking out the following free courses: Career Essentials in Generative AI, Introduction to AI on Coursera. This content might help you. Okay, click the link and it goes again to another blog post in my newsletter. You can do this again and again with different questions. We basically built in 15 minutes or so a chatbot that loops and continues answering questions from users by calling a knowledge base, retrieving the most relevant answers, storing the links to your direct social media content, using ChatGPT to formulate a coherent answer using the information from the knowledge base, and then returning a link to the most relevant piece of content. That only took 15 minutes, mostly just me talking through it, but you could rebuild this entire thing probably in 5 to 10 minutes. Okay, going back here, and now once your app's ready, you can go ahead and publish it. So publish v1, and what's going to happen is it's going to publish it just on a website where you can try it out, share it with other people to try it out, and continue iterating on it, and in particular iterating on the knowledge base, adding additional sources to the knowledge base. And here you can actually embed the widget. So here it's pretty easy to embed it to a website. You just kind of copy the installation code and then put it in your website. And this is another easy way to share. So if you click share prototype here and then open link in new tab, it'll basically take you to a web page that you can send to anybody, and they can start a conversation and start playing around with the bot. Yeah, so that's pretty much it. Just to recap, we built out Chatbot using VoiceFlow, and the Chatbot starts off with a couple welcome messages and asks the user whether they are trying to ask a question or connect on LinkedIn. If connect on LinkedIn, it opens up the LinkedIn, and then we linked it back, looped around to start the chat, so the user can ask a question if they also want to do that. Once they ask a question, we capture the question, and then we call the knowledge base API over here. We retrieve the two sources from the knowledge base that are most relevant to the user's question, and then we feed it into ChatGPT to create a well-formed, coherent answer. And then we also return the link to the social media content that is most relevant to the user's question in order to encourage more discoverability and more exposure to your content. And then finally, we loop everything around. So after the chatbot provides a helpful answer, it waits for the user to ask a follow-up question and then replies to that, and so on and so on. And then walk through a couple different ways to deploy it. You can embed it on your website. You can share prototype, which opens it up on that web page. There is supposed to be a way to deploy like a WhatsApp or SMS bot, but it looked kind of convoluted, and I worry it's a bit brittle compared to other chatbot builder platforms like Agentive Hub that have more seamless WhatsApp integration. That's actually another one on my list to try soon. I hope this video was helpful. If you're brand new to AI chatbots, I definitely recommend VoiceFlow as a place to start because it's pretty easy to get started and get something pretty good and functional. And once you have something working in here, it's much easier to kind of translate that knowledge as you explore other chatbot builder platforms. So my name's Sabrina Ramonov. If you like this video, hit like, hit subscribe, drop a comment below.